Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major! Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they released. We are on our 1980s New Line mini-series. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And today we are talking about Xtro from 1982. This was released January 7th, 1983. The budget was £450,000. Opening weekend, I do not know. Domestic and overall gross of $1.2 million. Doesn't seem like much, but when we get to the trivia, apparently this movie saved a New Line. So I don't know how, but
it's insane.
That's what the producer said. That's what the producer said. Yeah. Imagine being on your last legs at New Line. And you're just like, the woman gives birth to a human man, and they're just like, give us all the money. Yeah. Top 5 films that weekend is Tootsie, 48 Hours, The Verdict, The Dark Crystal, and The Toy.
Oh my god.
That seems like a pretty cool weekend.
I know.
Yeah, that's an eclectic variety.
And also, when you're done with all those 5, go into the CD corner and watch Xtro.
Yeah.
Number 1 song in the U.S. this week is Man-Eater by Daryl Hall and John Oates. And number 1 song in Canada this week is Mickey by Tony Basil.
Those are 2 really good songs.
I know.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you're just inundated with good media. Plot description from Google. Family man Sam Phillips has been missing for 3 years when he suddenly returns home to his son Tony and his wife Rachel. Though Tony has clung to the hopes of his father's return, his mother has moved on and is involved with another man. Rachel still has a place in her heart for her husband, but the love triangle is rudely interrupted when it becomes apparent that Sam's disappearance was the result of an alien abduction and he is no longer human. That makes it sound less fucking nuts than it is.
I mean, yeah, I like how, not to even start to get into it, but you don't even know this guy is married when the movie starts. He just throws up a stick that pierces the sky.
Well, you just see a woman leaving in a car, to go, on an errend or something like that.
I mean, sure.
It could be anybody.
Once that bone gets up in the sky and everything you know about movies just changes, and you're just like, oh, this is like 2001. Oh, wait, no, this is nothing like 2001.
It does kind of, and I like that, it is kind of that thing of, we set up that he's in a relationship, right? That they're parents? I mean, no, not really. Who cares?
Also, what happens to that dog? I just remembered about that. Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
I mean, 3 years have passed, so I guess maybe the dog passed away in that time, but,
I did think about it because I live with a Jack Russell Terrier, and I did kind of cling to my Jack Russell Terrier when I was watching this movie because I was like, nothing bad better happen to that.
You were like, I hope
dog.
aliens don't fucking come and get you because I threw a bone in the air. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's a dream. And then I was like,
I've done it before.
Wait, no, he was dreaming about a thing that happened. What? Yeah, so there's that. Story by Michelle Perry and Harry Bromley Davenport. Written by Ian Cassie and Robert Smith, with additional dialogue by Joanne Kaplan. Davenport said in the doc that she was brought in to Americanize the dialogue. I'm sure that was the real problem with it. Directed by Harry Bromley Davenport, who also did the score. Prior to this, Whispers of Fear in 1976. After this, Xtro 2, The Second Encounter in 1991, and Xtro 3, Watch the Skies in 1995. Both sequels have nothing to do with the original, and from the trailers, they look entirely different. And Mockingbird Don't Sing in 2001.
I have a friend who said, do not even try to go near the sequels, even though they're directed by him, or the same person. He just said they're terrible. Also, real quick, but have either of you seen Female Trouble, the John Waters film?
No, I'll watch it, probably just research, though, for when we do Polyester and Hairspray. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Divine's character is Dawn Davenport, and that's all I could think of whenever those credits came up, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, Dawn Davenport probably would direct this movie, honestly.
Yeah. When she gets arrested? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, because Xtro 3, that was a very, very early Vinegar Syndrome release. And then Xtro 2, past and future guest, Emily Soderbeck said that she watched the end of it, sped up, because it was so fucking boring. Which I was like, yeah, I've been there. That was me today with a different movie we'll be talking about, but...
oh my gosh.
Okay, we're done. Starring Philip Sayer as Sam Phillips, Bernice Stagers as Rachel Phillips, and Miriam
Dabo, maybe?
Dabo as Annalise Mercer. Most of them have done strictly British stuff that I've not heard of, so Yeah, trivia. Monstro was the original title. Davenport stated in an interview that he looks back on the film with embarrassment, saying that the bizarre atmosphere of the film was completely unintentional and that there is no deeper symbolic meaning to the strange random events that happen because he and his co-writers were very high on drugs while writing the script and would often throw in whatever random ideas popped in their heads and thought it would be neat. I believe, I believe Bob Shea was just like, why isn't there a panther in this movie? And they're just like, shit, we have to get a panther. We don't have enough money, but apparently Bob wants a panther.
That's like the John Peters trying to get a spider in like all of his movies story that Kevin Smith tells.
Yeah.
It really does look like something out of Twin Peaks: The Return, too, because it's in like a white room with nothing else in it, and you're just like, wait, what?
Kicks ass. Davenport has also said that despite being unhappy with the film, he is somewhat proud of its reputation for being a disgusting and bleak horror film. Hell yeah. The film was often incorrectly listed as a UK video nasty, although it was never officially listed as among the original 72 titles. Said in the doc on the second side Blu-ray that it was on the Section 3 list of video nasties, which was the list of people just being like, this is a horror movie. Get it out of video stores. Maybe we can like sue people for it, but they couldn't. Davenport originally intended the film to end with Rachel coming home to find the apartment filled with clones of Tony, having apparently come from the alien eggs which the real Tony had left in the refrigerator. But Bob Shea, head of New Line, not thinking the scene's special effects were convincing enough, edited it out and released it for the New York debut with the film's ending where Rachel sits down in the field after Sam and Tony have left. Davenport, however, not wanting to have it end on such an abrupt note, created another one which had Rachel going back to the apartment, picking up one of the eggs and being attacked by the face-grabbing creature similar to the one that attacked the woman in the cottage, and ultimately the film was released with this ending. So, apparently I thought the one with all the kids, that was the theatrical ending. No, that was just the original ending, which I took for the theatrical ending. So, the more bleak ending is actually the theatrical ending.
Which I watched the director's cut under those pretenses that I was watching a more bleak ending, so now I'm calling bullshit. Not that it's not bleak, but...
I mean, both of them are pretty fucked. Where it's just like, yeah, my kid's gone, but yay, I have 25 scary-ass clones in my house. Also, my husband is an alien, and my boyfriend, who is a piece of shit, like, I guess he's somewhere, yeah.
He's dead. He gets like his eardrums exploded.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm assuming that like his scream like just made his brain implode or something. Like
it's pretty metal, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen both endings. I'm not sure which one I prefer. The one with the Tony clones is often cited as like the happy ending, but it's also pretty bleak as well. Very The Brood mixed with Aphex Twin's Come to Daddy music video. Although of course I'm going to go with the one where everyone dies in the movie. It's just like, well, go home, folks. The world is fucked and nothing matters. So I'm going to go with that one. The producer...
Great message.
I mean, hell yeah. It did say in the doc that they did that once that actress who plays Rachel had already like gone and whatnot. So they just had a shot of her just looking down and then everything else was a body double. Even that hitting the face and whatnot, that was a body double. You really can't tell, honestly.
No.
The producer, Mark Forstater, stated in the doc that New Line was in a financial crisis and was running out of money at the time, but the success of Xtro kept them going until Nightmare on Elm Street came out. Then they were all good.
Also, Mark Forstater kind of sounds like a fake name for Mark Forster.
It's what he uses at hotels.
yeah, like...
Didn't you make Monsters Ball?
Finding Neverland?
No, that was Mark Forster.
Ball?
There's an extra T in there. That's not
it's just Mr. Burns with a mustache.
Mr. Snap, yeah. Yeah.
Tony's father has been away a long time. Now, he's coming home. Xtro has returned. Once a man, he is now something more than human. Indestructible, ever-changing, evil. His mission, to avenge, to possess, to destroy.
Why did you come back?
I came back for you.
Bearing powers of black magic from deep space.
If you think hard about something, you can make it happen.
Xtro. Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly. From New Line Cinema, rated R.
That is all the trivia I have. Initial thoughts. Charlie, you just... No, wait. Bryden, you just watched this one. Initial thoughts for the Xtros.
Yeah, I thought this was okay. I will confess, I did not plan my day especially well. I left these things to the last minute. Sometimes that can affect like my viewing, my enjoyment. I think of like where I'm like thinking, okay, how much time do I have left in the movie? Not necessarily because I'm bored, but because I'm worried about meeting and recording. I'm sorry about that, folks.
Brad and I slept on this movie for a day, and I still have no idea what I think about it until I'm going to start talking about it, so you're good.
Yeah.
I watched it like a week ago, so I mean, yeah, I feel the same, so.
And it's interesting that, like, it's funny when, like, you talk, reading about some of these directors, like, I feel like we had this conversation with Jack Shoulder recently, where it's like, the director saying like, oh, I don't know if the movie's really all about that or anything. When like you try to like get at them about the message, and sometimes directors are just like kind of, they don't really know what they don't really see the movie that way, but like doesn't mean the meaning's not there. I mean, this is like kind of like The Brood, like you mentioned. I definitely thought about that movie, especially with, like, like evil little henchmen like going around killing adults with like the help of like to help a kid or something. I did, and also like that movie was made in the context of like the director going through a really bad divorce, which like seeps through in the movie. This one definitely has that feel of it, where it's like the men in like this woman's life wanting to like control her image, and also the image of like her offspring definitely like comes through in the even though like the boyfriend who like is like rightly suspicious of like Sam coming back and everything, because like Sam seems fucking weird and everything, he's like an asshole because he's like
he's such a piece of shit.
He's like announcing like, we haven't even seen him propose to Rachel and everything, but he's like saying like, yeah, we're getting married, and then she's like, really? You had to say that now? Like, it's like, and we also don't know if he even asked her permission about that. And then, you do sort of get the sense of control when, like, you see his job as, like, a fashion photographer, where he's, like, saying, like, no, he's, like, making people, like, change dresses and everything, kind of controlling their image. And Sam, he's doing the same thing, too, like, making his kid do certain things and quite literally changing his image into, like, a balding, like, skin-shedding alien near the end of the movie. But then also, like, attacking people like for his own gain, trying to like put his influence like with like the eggs being planted in like so that like he continue his species, I guess, his new species, so that it will continue to reign. So I think that's really interesting, especially like in like as like a divorce metaphor, where it's like them like battling over the control of the kid and everything, and exploiting it in a genre context. It does have a lot of I will say this movie is effective in that there were like a handful of moments that did like, creep me out, like in ways where I'm like, this is like feels unseemly in a way that I do like appreciates and everything. Because movies sometimes like don't always like, you watch like a lot of movies and everything, and sometimes they just sort of all blend together. And I'm like, well, there was literally one moment. It's like near the end of the movie when Joe is driving Tony the kid to the cottage, and it's cutting between the really disturbing sex scene between Sam and Rachel and everything, where she's into it, but like he's like turning into a new form and everything, where like his skin is like peeling off and everything, and you hear, but then like it cuts to Tony and you hear like the moans of like the sex scene over his face as he's like grinning, like like yeah, like as if like, yes, my dad is like controlling my mom and everything. And it's just, and I wrote down on my notes, I don't like this. I was just like, it's like so up, it's like so unseemly, just like that sound over that image and everything, just the suggestion of something really sinister happening. Not the suggestion, what's happening and everything, but having that, the image of and the sounds of that over like an image that would otherwise be really innocuous and everything, the mixing of that is like really creepy. And yeah, just like I like that they explain certain things about Sam's journey that we don't see in outer space. Like, you hear about, like, he's able to pass on the skill of telekinesis to Tony and everything. But then the other stuff where, like, he makes his toys come to life, that doesn't get explained and everything. It's just, like, a creepy thing that starts happening. And it's, like, it's kind of funny, but, like, it is, like, because it's, like, a giant, like, soldier toy and everything, like, shooting, like, moving, like, robotically. And it looks kind of janky and everything because it's, like, 40-year-old movie and everything. But it's, like, it's like, oh, this is kind of, or, like, I think a better scene where like it is kind of funny is the little tank that's like chasing.
Yes,
that thing kicks ass.
Yeah, chasing Annalise's boyfriend, and like he's like trying to distract him by like throwing a towel over it so it won't see him and everything. Like it is kind of goofy, and the music does have like kind of a mischievous tone and everything. But then like it is like really like disarming and like the way that it's edited, where like, you know, he like thinks he's away from the tank, but then like a panther like comes to life and then like leaps at him, and then like the scene like just cuts as he's like yelling like ah, and then
I've defeated the tank. Like, oh shit, there's a panther in the house. Panther.
Yeah. There is a lot of this movie, a lot of stuff in this movie where I feel like it is people just going like, "Hey, what's that?" Ah! And then like cut like mid scream into like the next scene. I don't know. I did find like somehow I don't know why like this didn't quite get to like the next level for me. Like that feels like I feel kind of shitty that I can't think of an explanation for why this like just didn't quite. I never like my enjoyment never like quite like rose to like, you know, a higher level than like, you know, what I ended up rating, which is like a 3 out of 5 and everything. But I think this is like there is like some solid filmmaking here, and it is interesting. Like I think the metaphor is like pretty solid at the center of it, which is good because like you do see a lot of horror movies, especially now, where it's like, oh, it's actually a metaphor, and like I don't have a problem with that. But like you like if you try to parse what the metaphor is in some horror movies, it's like, you sure about that? You sure that's what that is?
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that the score is by the director of the movie. I didn't. The score, it maybe gets like a little.
I knew that. I
parts.
was so curious to hear what you were going to think about the score. It's like because it's out there.
I do like sort of like the droning, how it like changes like pitches and everything as like a scene goes on and everything. It was like where it sounds like it's like being cranked up or cranked down. Like that's really interesting. But I will say that it's the kind of thing where I'm like, what? It does sort of like upend the tone a little bit for me, like with like the tank scene and everything. Like I wonder how that scene would play if without the score, where it was going like boom 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 boom, like where it's kind of I'm kind of misremembering the melody already, but like it is like kind of a there's a little bit of mischief going on, like with like this tank chasing, and like I get that it's like, yeah, it's like a little goofy with like, you know, this guy's being chased by like children's toys and everything, but it's like like I wonder like if you would still like accomplish that sort of uneasy tone without like the music. I don't know.
I feel like we need to start a Patreon for Bryden to rescore all the movies we've covered on our podcast.
I don't want to be. I
no. I would love it.
And it's
I would be.
It's the thing where like I don't know. I'm trying to. I don't even know if I can quite articulate it. Why like my enjoyment didn't quite rise to the level that I think it did for you guys, because I know you were like, I think Kevin,
I gave it the same rating as you.
Well, I know Kevin was really into it, and that's fine. Like I know we all have different opinions.
But
that's
I also
fine.
only gave it half a star more than you. So
sure, but like still, I do like some of those half-star differences as like, you know.
But if somebody was like, hey, we're going into the streets to advocate for Xtro, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. Meanwhile, both of y'all would be like, I don't know, I'm kind of tired. And I'd be like, no, all Xtro all fucking day, dog.
Yeah. Oh, I will say,
quit your day job, go riot in the streets for Xtro.
Even the director would be like, that's a bit much. Yeah.
I will say one thing, and this is not me like searching for things to nitpick with the movie. It was a thing that I thought about like at the end of it. I think the ending, which is important because we were talking about it, I think actually if the movie ended, before like we get into like the plot of it all, I feel like if the movie ended with Rachel in the field just in the early morning light, I feel like that would, and then like the movie like faded to black, I feel like that would be like a much stronger ending with like that sort of sense of loss and everything. I feel like that would actually be like really emotionally impactful.
Fuck
I
that
think
face
technically speaking, the sort of like the coda is like is well staged as a bit of a shock. It's like, okay, that's like kind of taking out the sting of it in a way, and also like the fact that it happens and then it says the end. I'm like, yeah, I know it's the end of it. Like it's like maybe a bit of it's again taking the.
Well, there's another ending where it says the end and then it has a question mark. Yeah.
I do wonder how they got that like water balloon from hell to have that bouncing blob inside of it.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
I guess the ending of her just sitting there would be from a different movie. I feel like it would be the better ending, but for this movie, I'd be like, don't act like we didn't just see a toy soldier come to life, a panther, a alien that we see once that is like on all fours, that is like the most terrifying thing I've ever seen, and then it ends like very serenely like that, which is a great shot in the way that it does that. But it's just like it would almost feel out of place, even if that is like, for the big pictureness of the whole plot and whatnot about everything would probably make sense. But it's just like, yeah, give me a face hugger with the door shutting in my face. That it's just like, all right, Bye.
Maybe she's just so traumatized by everything that we've just seen that, of course, she's like, oh, of course these, like, alien egg sacs are just here, but, like, why would she pick them up? Like,
I was
like,
wondering that, too. It's like, it's clearly not a good thing that's in your home, but, like, I guess she's just like, I don't fucking care anymore. What do I have to lose? Yeah.
Bring me sweet death. And then
that home is just, like, all white, and it's just, like, a refrigerator now. It's just like, I don't even have a home. I just got these guys. So,
Did anyone else think of Requiem for a Dream with the refrigerator?
Why you always gotta give me these face huggers, Ma?
It's the same refrigerator.
Tabby Timmons put these fucking eggs in here, Ma.
Would be now if we had Requiem for a Dream where instead of the TV they steal the refrigerator full of all that shit.
Just
that
Helen
would be
Burstyn
insane.
instead of getting diet pills. It's just fucking alien eggs through the mail. I'm
Snake
gonna be
eggs.
on television about snake eggs. Yo, that
And she's
seemed
her
fucking
skin is
ripped.
just peeling off on the subway train, and everyone's like, "You're whacked."
Just eating snake eggs on the train. Yo, that scene is
This
fucking
woman needs
awesome.
electroshock therapy.
He's really eating
God.
snake eggs, and his son walks in. It's just like, Dad.
He's like, hold on, I can explain. Just give me your own
no, you
moment.
can't.
Don't worry, it's fine.
I really don't have much to articulate to say other than this movie fucking kicks ass, and I had a great time watching it. Let's see. Nope, that's pretty much all I got. Charlie, finish your thoughts.
Well, I will say, yeah, watching it, I had a lot of fun and was also kind of like, I have no idea what the hell half this shit means. But then, Kevin, you saying that they were on drugs half the time, it makes
They had
total
like
sense.
9 writers, and it just
Yeah.
gives me the vibe. It's just like, what if we did no, what if we did that? But and they're just like, oh yeah, write that down. This is so
Yeah.
fucking nuts. We're getting money to make this.
Yeah, kudos to them that they did a ton of drugs and made this fucking goopy ass mess of a movie. Because when I did drugs in college, it was like, I don't know, me watching a roommate play Sonic the Hedgehog while like "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes played in the background, and we were like, this is syncing up perfectly. Like
That sounds dope
that's a
as
true
shit. Actually.
story. That is a true story. It was like me and like a couple other people were like, wow, this is beautiful.
All right, so now the
Or, like-
Patreon, instead of me rescoring movies that we've covered on the show, it needs to be you rescoring the Sonic movies to Burnett songs. That's what you.
I still think about it. It was over 10 years ago. I still think of "Be My Baby" now with Sonic the Hedgehog because of the one time I tripped on acid.
Do you think
Just
anybody else
thinking
had
it
that
was,
experience
No.
besides the people in that room?
Or that, or like a lamer thing of like
Well,
we
I
had
think Phil
strobe lights
Spector
in our.
had the vision as well. Actually,
Yeah, we also had strobe lights in our bathroom, our very big bathroom that we smoked weed in, and we hung up a bunch of posters. And at one point, we had like a stormtrooper poster. That's one of those posters that like it looks like a blaster's going off, and no matter where you look, it looks like it's shooting at
that's
you. And the
fucking
strobe
cool,
light hit.
man.
And we hit the strobe light on that poster by accident. We were like, "This is art! Like it looks like it's firing at you." And we just woke up. And
I thought you were gonna say
God.
you had the episode 1 teaser poster where it's Anakin, but the shadow is Darth. Still kicks
That
ass.
would be amazing.
But yeah,
Yes,
if you were like
honestly,
high
that
as
poster
shit, you'd be
still
like,
rules.
"Holy fuck, dude! Like that's him as a kid, but he
I
doesn't
do
know his
remember-
future, man."
I do remember us we did watch episode 1 after we got high one night in college, and I remember we were we came to the realization that everyone saves the world in this movie by accident. Like,
Or by, like,
literally
trade-
nobody.
But like the treaties and whatnot, and you're just like,
Treaties that make no sense,
Yeah.
that are never explained. They could, for all we know, Padme could be talking about child labor, like being justified, and like
It's
we don't
fine.
know. But
that's
like,
okay.
yeah,
Do you see that
Yeah.
lightsaber that lights up on both sides? Kicks ass.
Jar
give a
Jar
fuck.
literally unleashes giant blue balls into a battlefield and goes oopsie, and then like everybody dies. Anyway,
Saved by
this
complete
movie,
stupidity.
yeah. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yeah, I like you, Bryden. I didn't like emotionally connect to this movie on a deep level in terms of like the themes of divorce or anything like that. But I definitely was like, oh, there's definitely the brood in here. It's like if Close Encounters, if it was viewed from the wife's perspective, and like
Close Encounters
the dad
wishes
took-
it was Xtro. Excuse you.
the kid, like if Close Encounters was a body horror movie and the wife was like, I don't understand why my husband's leaving me and also taking our kid with him, like mixed with Cronenbergian like goopy body horror, and like yeah, you know, like from the very get-go where we mentioned it, but the 2001 thing where they just throw up, there's no like
You just
I
like
did think
dog.
about this
You can't dry dig Xtro. It's like 2 minutes into this, and we're already getting into it. You gotta slow down, man.
I did think about it in a way where it's like if you go to film school, they teach you like, this is how you write a movie. You have the introduction and you have the inciting incident, and this is their ordinary world and all this. And it's just like this movie. It's just like, what if he threw a stick up into the sky and there were just a bunch of insane strobe effects and he just disappeared? Like, I'm just like, yeah, okay, this is the type of movie we're in for. Fun. And yeah, every single gross effect, like I knew this movie was going to be gross, but like it always went a step further than I thought it was going to, which is always fun. Yeah, we've talked about the birthing sequence. Yeah. I will give you this too, Bryden. Occasionally, like I was like, this is going to be so much fun, and it was a lot of fun. But there's an occasional gross, like drippy effect that like really unnerved me, like him just like laying eggs in his son's neck or something out of the blue. I was like, what the fuck? Fucking just so upsetting.
Yeah.
And then the kid doing, like, what's upsetting too is like that the kid gets like starts doing that thing to other people too. It's like really like a toxic male influence. That, like, passed down
cyclical.
To this kid. Yeah.
I guess that's the thing I question, where I was like, usually this would make sense for an abuse narrative, but I guess the abuse is genuinely just alien. Like they usually like that's the thing that I was like wrestling with, where I was just kind of like, oh, toxicity of divorce then being reenacted, but like where's the toxic act that the husband, and like he literally got abducted by aliens. There's no real other allegory here.
Yeah, it's at the start. Well,
he was trying to be a good father, and guess what? You get abducted. Don't be a good father.
Yeah, he literally did nothing wrong, at least based off what we saw.
Yeah, what's that Parasite review? It's like, this wouldn't have gone down like if I'd been there or whatever. It's like I wouldn't have gone down like that if I'd been there for Xtro.
Mark Wahlberg has entered the chat. That wouldn't have happened if I was the father.
I would have fucked them aliens up. All right. Yeah.
And yeah, like it's but I also found its messiness to be part of the charm and part of its endearing thing, because I feel like I've said this about 67 times on this podcast, but like these types of movies just don't exist anymore. It's you can't, just.
It's not trying to be weird.
No,
that's the problem with movies that were just like, oh, it's so fucking weird and dope. It's just like, yeah, they're trying to. This movie's like, it's not trying to be weird. It's just naturally weird. It's like it's trying to find a through line through every cut in this movie, and every single time the movie's just like, no, I don't think that's gonna work, man.
Nope. Yeah, every time, because the body horror stuff starts, and then you touched upon it, Bryden, but then like toy soldiers come to life, and little miniature tanks somehow have the firepower of actual tanks and shit. Yeah. And then the babysitter you think is gonna be like maybe like some type of like person who steps in and is like, I've had enough of this bullshit, but then she turns into like a giant fucking larva cocoon.
Oh yeah.
At one point, it's just so like, in a matter of what seems like minutes also.
Yeah.
Like, and then that thing, oh god, like there's some stuff I wasn't sure how much to read into it on like a gender level, in terms of like, if this is, I get that obviously, Bryden, you hit the nail on the head of like, this is what the wife being controlled by the men, and the image of what she should be as a mother and a partner in this type of relationship. But then the babysitter stuff is also the typical, like, you have sex with someone, you're gonna die, and then also be turned into like this harvesting cocoon monster thing.
Well, naturally.
Yeah. And it's is the movie punishing her because like she'll like go off to have like sex with her boyfriend when she's like, she's being called to like run errands for the kid or something, or like, she says like, oh yeah, you're gonna be fine, like or she's like says to the kid like, I'm gonna go lie down a bit, and you're gonna be fine if I don't watch you, right? And he's like, you're always lying down. I mean, that kid's being a little shit by that point in the movie, but like it's
also a weird line, or it's like but yeah, that's the thing, is like, even because we talked about this too on Alone in the Dark, and it's a typical horror trope, especially in the 80s, of sexually promiscuous women getting punished. And then Alone in the Dark, she's supposed to be babysitting the kid, and then she gets killed. Here, it's a little weird because she seems to really care for the kid and actually is involved in this family, and then all of a sudden, she doesn't care. And I look. Sex is an important part of life. I get it, but like it also does seem like the movie just turned her character into something else at one point. Which, you know, in a silly, goofy movie like this, it kind of is a who cares whatever type of thing. Yes. But it is also like it makes the stuff going on with the wife a little less like the seam. You can see the seams basically in terms of like what's going on with the gender stuff. But again, if you just watch the movie and you are a little higher, you have a few beers and order a pizza or something like that. Although I will say that's another thing. I did start this movie and was like, yeah, I'll have dinner after this or something. And then afterwards I lost my appetite completely. Like it takes a lot for a movie to...
alien eggs. Oh boy, my appetite is gone.
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to truly like churn my stomach. And it's not even that the special effects are like state of the art or anything. It's just they're goopy and gross and like... It's enough muck and slime for me to be like, ugh, like we'll never get this sort of stuff again. We just won't. Like people don't want to like even spend money on this type of shit anymore. I feel like this is all a very superficial reading, but like I was also just very tired after work yesterday and was just kind of like, oh, gross. Cool. Anyway.
Am I tired, or is this movie not make any sense?
Yeah. And there is something to be said for like a movie where like it can at least get like that kind of response from you where it's like, oh, this is gross, or like that this is like kind of upsetting or anything. Because like there are like a lot of movies like where like I feel like we talk about it's just like, yeah, okay, sure, I guess. Like, it doesn't really get a rise out of us or anything, whereas this is like, I mean, I'll speak for myself now. It's like, you know, if I'm going to remember some of these images or anything like it, so it's like, that's not nothing.
Just real quick, even if this was like, we didn't know what we were doing, we were on drugs the whole time, even like, I don't want to say subconsciously because that almost seems like it's giving it too much credit, but like, there are nuggets of ideas here that do, like, go through
just because they're
end.
high, it's not like they were just like fucking like drooling writing the script. It's just like they were just kind of out there with their ideas. Like but like you were saying, there's like I don't think divorce was on their mind, but it's just like yeah, but you still did it, so the meaning is still there. So it's not like you're like I wanted to make an alien movie. Yeah. It also works as a divorce movie, you know, that type of thing. Like it's not that. And now, go ahead.
Well, similarly, like you know. Ideas can also sometimes rise out of like you know smoking at herb or anything because you know I think Jack Shoulder when I was doing some research on him he was talking about Alone in the Dark. It was conceived. He said like I think he said like when he was like sitting around doing I said like I think there's a joint passed around and that movie does seem like kind of like the stereotypical. It's like I mean who's really the insane ones in society, man? Is it like the people locked up or is it you know regular people or whatever? It does have that kind of feel. It's like I don't know, man. Makes you think. Yeah. I mean that's like. I mean, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Maybe there was like a rep screening of The Brood like 2 days before they shot this thing, and they just got high outside of the theater and went
ass? The Brood.
The Brood.
The Brood is fucking scary too. That's my favorite Cronenberg. That just kicks ass.
That's a bold choice. It's a good one.
But yeah, it'd either be that or Videodrome. I don't know.
I mean,
I like just The Brood. It's just like, yeah, I don't care.
Like also, like The Brood also features I will just say, short characters killing people with mallets, like this movie does.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That was the other thing, too, where I have to ask, at one point the clown's mallet turns rubbery before
it's cool.
The clown hits the character in the head, but then kind of goes, who cares, and just does it anyway.
And then you hear a crack, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like, that wasn't even necessary, but it's this weird childlike surrealism that then becomes like, oh, you think this is cute? Oh my.
That said, I would have laughed if it had been still like a floppy hammer. It was just like a light little like slap across the forehead. And it's like shit.
you hear that like like inflation. Yeah.
Why does this movie have a snake in it? Yeah, I didn't need that. Even though it's like a little because fucking garter snake, but
the eggs are the metaphor for the eggs of the trauma divorce.
The eggs are a metaphor for eggs. Now we're into the girls' bathroom on the Amanda Show.
My brain went to the same place with the Amanda Show.
Yeah, I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, I know this is a tiny fucking snake, and then I was like, oh, this has to happen because the toy soldier has to turn into a person and kill the neighbor for killing the snake. Okay, I'm on board now.
Also, can I just say that old lady who lives downstairs totally sucks, because even though she did kill a snake and that does suck for her, she just brings that dead snake like remains up, and she's like, your son is clearly yeah, just goop, and she goes, your son is clearly too irresponsible to have a pet, and just walks out, just no remorse for the fact that this kid's already dealing with his father walking out. She probably knows about that from being neighbors with these people, and then she's just like, ugh, your kid fucking sucks. Like,
I will say,
no.
I don't blame her. If I was making a salad and just a whole snake came out, I would not. I would probably beat the living shit out of the snake because I'd be terrified.
Oh yeah, but like, just
but she sucked before that.
Yeah.
It's also fun. I mean, yeah, you also do get that hint and everything where she tries to give him the hug in the hallway, and he like just like aims the toy soldier, goes da 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 da, and, like it's like, oh yeah, should have seen that coming. But I will say, I was watching the movie. It's like watching it, thinking like, yeah, the dad got abducted by aliens. Something bad's gonna happen when he comes back. I did not expect the stuff with the toys. I did not see that coming. I was like, that's not something you see every day.
How could you? I mean, I guess toys becoming, you know, and then you think Soldier Man, that's an image of masculinity. I almost feel like it's not even like fair to put this much thought into it, because the director will probably be like, I don't know, drugs. Like,
well, it's very funny. The documentary about it, Davenport, the director, is sitting in front of a piano the entire time, you know, because he's like a classy man, and so I feel like he would be like, oh, I would never make that type of movie now, even though he's trying to make Xtro 4 since like 2015, so it's very funny.
You talking about the background of that, Kevin, reminds me of like when I saw Killer Joe at the Harvard Film Archive 10 years ago, and they gave a whole academic like presentation that was like 10 minutes beforehand, beautifully written, so many SAT words, and they were just like, this is why it's a great piece of contemporary art. And they were like, and we have a guest, you know, to also present this film. It's our the director, William Friedkin. And then William Friedkin got on stage and he was like, well, now you don't even need to watch the movie. I made the damn thing and I don't even know what it's about. Like, it's that kind of thing where I'm like, I'm sure if you approach the director, he would be like, sure, I guess. Like, you know.
You didn't hate the movie? Great. Whatever you think is awesome with me.
Yeah. Also, R.I.P. William Friedkin. Love that man's movies. Loved how funny he was and how clearly he just was like, I don't know. Make of it what you will. Like,
this is another episode where I have to confess I still haven't watched Jade. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I mean, it's not his best movie, to put it mildly.
I know,
but it is interesting.
I gotta complete the Joel Esterhazy Infinity Gauntlet. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. I just watched one of his movies that he wrote recently. What was it? Betrayed, with Deborah Winger infiltrating white supremacists.
Wait, what?
Oh my!
That's an Esterhazy script, directed by Costa Gavras. An acclaimed Greek-French filmmaker. Of course, that's the first movie of his I see. The trashy Hollywood shit he made.
I had no idea that movie was about Deborah Winger infiltrating white supremacists.
Yes.
Look at that cover.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, you watched this and then you watched Mississippi Burning, didn't you?
I watched them in the
and
same
then you watched Soft and Quiet. Damn. Good vibes.
And then did you watch The Life of David Gale because you were like, well, now I need to see a Zero-Star movie.
Well,
I need to see what
Alan Parker directed Mississippi Burning as well.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Gosh, that movie sounds... I haven't seen that movie, but I know it's funny.
I don't know anything about it, and I want to go in as blind as possible and be like, how?
Oh, it's a disgusting motion picture.
Hell yeah.
On so many levels.
Rest in peace, Alan Parker.
Well, what's funny too is that like I've heard that movie is wretched. Like I don't think anyone likes it, but the score from it was used in like a lot of trailers in like in the mid to early 2000s. Like Munich, World Trade Center,
really?
And In the Valley of Ella, I believe, all use music from Life of David Gale in their trailers, which is just
like,
funny.
We gotta use it for something good.
And then when Bryden hosts parties on Friday nights, he just plays the Life of David Gale to score in the background.
Well, Bryden has such great friends that they're drinking their martinis. They're like, did you just put on the Life of David Gale soundtrack? And it's like, yeah, I got it on vinyl, man. I thought this was the Munich score. No, sir. That was in the trailer from The Life of David Gill. Directed by Alan Parker. That's right. I don't think I've seen any Alan Parker movies. Maybe I'll just see The Life of David Gill, and that's it.
I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend rectifying it with something if you do plan on watching that.
Watch Shoot the Moon or something like that. Be like, Life of David Gale vibes here.
Watching Evita and being like, you know what I'm getting the vibes of? No, I've seen Pink Floyd The Wall, so yeah.
Which I need to see.
That's it, though.
I should also probably listen to that album.
I got too stoned in college and never finished it.
I mean, you go to college, they're just like, have you gotten high and watched Pink Floyd The Wall? All right, you still got another year. Need to see Angel Heart? Need to see that?
Yes, I have seen Angel Heart. That was I have a headache, I'm going to go home from school and sleep it off, and then I woke up and watched Angel Heart.
This doesn't help.
Because I was that person. It was one of those movies that my dad, I remember, Angel Heart's one of those movies where my dad was just like, that's like a fucked up movie. And I was just like, well, if my dad's saying that, then...
It like almost got an X rating, I think. It had to be like...
Yeah. Because there's a sex scene that also involves like blood raining down on Mickey Rourke and... I'm forgetting.
Wesley Snipes has entered the chat. Really? That sounds dope as shit.
I'm just imagining. What is it? What's the song that's used in the Blood Rave from Blade? Just dub that over Angel Heart sex scene. We have gone so off the rails with this.
It's on brand for this type of movie, so it's fine. Yeah. It's not like we're talking about the weight of water or something, and then we just start talking about Life of David Gale and Angel Heart.
There's also, I will just say, I'm trying not to spoil anything about the Life of David Gale, but there is a moment in the Life of David Gale where Kate Winslet just drops to her knees in the middle of a street in slow motion and screams at the sky, and it's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And I say that as someone who adores Kate Winslet, but it's just so bad.
I'm literally probably the only person in the world that's like, hey, please don't spoil the Life of David Gale.
It turns 20 this year, I believe.
Last year, you missed the boat ride, and we missed our chance. Because everyone was clamoring for a Life of David Gale 20th anniversary episode.
Where's the 4K of David Gale?
What a life. What a life.
Bring out my... People had pots and pans in the streets. They were just...
Why do you want to see that movie? It's not because of the subject matter, I swear.
Yeah, at least I watched it before Kevin Spacey was canceled. Jesus.
All right, that's enough.
It's enough Gale talk for our Gale corner. You want more? Subscribe to the Patreon that doesn't exist. Anything else about Xtro? There's not really a plot to get into. We've already talked about enough of it, but
one thing I will say is, like, we were talking about, like, you know, some of the characters who are, like, you know, shitty, and like, you so like maybe their fates, like, you know, in the movie, like, you know, Joe, I don't know that you necessarily feel quite so bad for him when his like his brain explodes near the end of the movie, but I will say, it's funny that, like, you get the one neighbor character who you don't really meet throughout the movie, who, like, he's maybe the one who's vacuuming, but then, like, you know, Rachel calls him and says, like, hey, could you just, like, maybe check on my kid or anything? He's like, oh, yeah, sure, fine, or anything. And then he, like, hits him to the phone. He's like, bitch. And then it's just like, I feel like that wasn't necessary to make this get, like, is it just, like, thrown in there? It's like, well, we can't have this guy be likable or anything and just have bad shit happen to us. So we need to, like, make him just arbitrarily mean or whatever. Like, and then...
Like, not only is this happening to this family, all their neighbors suck.
Yeah. Right, and I'm just imagining someone watching this movie, like the one person being like, oh, no, he didn't deserve that.
Can't one person in this movie be good?
Yeah. Well, like, I did have, like, everyone else, like, gets killed because they want to, like, have the eggs hatch or something like that, or because, like, they know too much about the conspiracy, I guess, of what's going on and everything. Whereas this guy doesn't even make it to the apartment. He, like, just, like, knocks on the door. Is like, oh, I guess something going on. And he goes back in the elevator. I'm like, do you need to kill this guy at this point? I feel like that's just, like, bringing awareness to like, the fact that aliens are on Earth and everything. You want to keep that hidden, but, yeah.
That is something, too, that I do kind of appreciate sometimes is, like, sci-fi movies where there is, like, clear signs of, like, extraterrestrial life and there's no government involvement whatsoever. Like, it's just sort of funny. Where it's like, then that gets a little too convoluted here. Also, super niche thing, but, like, my stupid brain just thought, what if the eggs end up with the fucking
What if Bill Pullman showed up and was just like, this is actually our day of independence for these aliens? Yeah.
Well, what if... No, okay, I got it now. What if the eggs just ended up with the Don McKellar character in Exotica? Those are the eggs that he's smuggling through the airport. It just becomes a
completely different movie by the end of it.
Oh, boy. That's for, like, 2 people. Okay.
Possibly 3 if I see that movie when it plays at TIFF at the end of this month.
You fucking better. It kicks ass.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's fucking awesome.
That's like, gun to my head, probably my favorite movie of the 90s.
I thought you were going to say the first one you saw, Chloe, as you were telling me.
Oh, Jesus. No, I saw that movie alone in college when
you're aware that Xtro
bored.
2 and 3 both came out in the 90s, but sure, whatever.
Oh shit. Okay, I recant.
I love how I was like, man, I can't wait to watch Xtro 2 and Xtro 3, and I watched the trailers and I was just like, man, life sure is short, isn't it?
Yeah, you really turned around on that because in the group chat you were like,
yeah, the second one looks like an Aliens ripoff. And so it looks nothing and feels nothing like this movie. Don't make that face; it doesn't look good. Aliens 3 Xtro 3 looks like a Predator ripoff in like a bad way.
I mean, I'm just messing around in my head now. I'm like imagining like what the British version of like Aliens is like. Oi, mate, get away from it! Oi, mate, piss off! Like that's like the get away from me, you bitch, or whatever.
Just imagining Aliens, but it's Wallace and Gromit. This alien's made out of cheese.
Yeah, the extended episode where they go to the moon and they discover the Xtro eggs.
I watched all of Wallace and Gromit, everything, and they're just the best guys. Just what
they're great.
What if a guy liked cheese, and what if a dog just had to deal with it? And also, if he just made his dog work with him every time he switched his job every few years when we checked up on him. What if they brought in a penguin who was actually a bank robber? That guy kicks ass, dude.
He really does. I just imagine Heat with that penguin.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, British people only have Xtro and Wallace and Gromit, actually. Inside me, there's 2 mother, father. You wrestle inside me. Xtro father and Wallace and Gromit mother.
Jesus Christ. It's the most unhinged episode we've ever done. We've gone from Life of David Gale to Wallace and Gromit.
It's called having interests, sweaty. Look it up. What else can we even talk about?
I have no clue.
I'm sorry if I'm like I'm maybe not like being my usual analytical self and everything, but I will say the one bit that I did think of when we see Joe working in his photo studio, he like comes in, straightening his parrot, and like but then like he like picks up like a drink of like carton of orange juice, and maybe I missed it in the detail, but I'm like thinking like, did he just like leave that carton like out overnight and anything? Like that's not healthy. Like leaving like carton of juice just like out like that. Should refrigerate that, but whatever. Maybe you had it in the fridge and I just missed it when I like looked away for a second. Anyways.
It really is one of those movies where you have to pay attention to every frame, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, like I should have been looking. Maybe otherwise I would have given this another half star if he kept that juice in the fridge.
Yeah. I do kind of admire though that like if this type of movie was made now, they'd have to we have to over explain everything. It's like, no, sometimes you just have like a weird carousel toy in your home and then you just stare into it with this weird white glow and a clown pops out. Like,
oh yeah,
sure. I like that they don't explain how he's able to get the toys to come to life. They're able to explain the telekinesis, but not the toy stuff. That's really cool. Yeah.
What movie did this kid think he was making? I desperately need to know, because when you read about The Shining, where it's like the kid thought he was making a drama the entire time. It's like,
I hope this kid knew everything. Actually. I mean, it does kind of like read like a kid's movie. It's just like, so I'm doing this, but like, what if my toys came to life? What happens to them? Oh, you don't need to know that. But,
yeah.
Well, actually, I'm not sure exactly how they filmed it. You see his face pretty clearly in this scene where he's, like, laying the eggs in the babysitter, Annalise.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, that's, like, maybe creepy in a way that, like, is not something to be appreciative of. But, because I don't know if that's maybe, like, the best scene to film with a child actor. But,
Maybe it wasn't a child. I mean, he could have had puppets. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving this
And,
movie too much credit.
But like
That is what this movie is missing, is puppets. That would kick ass.
Ugh.
Just alien puppets.
Terrifying.
The kid beats up with Jigsaw 20 years later, and he's saying like, "Buddy, we're gonna have some good times."
God.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at Kev Bonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at J Doyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CT Nash91. Once again, thank you for listening.